Hi, I'm KESTER SHARPE, Deputy UK Chief Commissioner, and this is my 60-second Scouter.
What is your favourite camp memory?
Ooh, favourite camp memory? Quite a lot to choose from. Camp is my favourite week of the year. I think probably having to teach some of our scouts how to wash their hair over a bucket when we were at a rather primitive campsite. That was quite funny, seeing about 15 of them all lined up with buckets in front of them.
And I have two questions for you. The first one, what changes have you seen during your time in scouting? And the second one, what impact has technology had since you began scouting?
Okay, so what changes? I've seen absolutely loads of changes in scouting. So I've been involved in scouting all my adult life, which is far too many years for me to actually state. I joined scouting at the time when Beavers was in its infancy, so I've seen Beaver scouting become just a normal part of the movement. I've seen Explorer Scouts come on board, so we didn't have Explorer Scouts when I first joined, so that was really exciting. Scout network. So all sorts of changes, but they're probably the biggest ones. Technology. Well, when I first started scouting, the internet wasn't really a thing for normal people, so the internet's made a massive change. And I use technology to help me in scouting all the time, whether it's emails or whether it's video conferencing or telephone conferencing, all sorts of different things. Loads and loads of possibilities for communication and explaining things to people.
What is your favourite camp?
Oh, favourite camp? Well, that's a really easy one because it's the one I've just come back from. So I went to Poacher in Lincolnshire this year, which is an international camp for scouting and guiding. There were 5,500 young people and nearly 3,000 adults. And it's the 5th time I've been to Poacher, which happens every 4 years, and it is my absolute favourite.
What is your favourite food to cook at a scout camp?
Okay, my favourite thing on the menu at Scout Camp that actually involves cooking is eggy bread, which is my favourite breakfast at camp. But I have an absolute favourite, which doesn't actually involve very much cooking, which is something that our group does every time it goes away camping. I've never seen it on anybody else's menu, and I don't really know where it came from. It's just one of those things that's in our history, and that is a dessert called Swedish apple charlotte. And it has apple at the bottom of the bowl, and then it has a cornflake crispy type layer above it, and then it has whipped cream on the top of it. Absolutely delicious. And we normally over cater so that we can have at least thirds.
Participation rates in UK Scouting seem to be much higher than those in Canada. What are you doing in the UK to have higher participation rates or encouraging youth to join or stay in the movement?
Well, you know what, we're having a really good time, and that is really the crux of it. We make sure that the programme that we offer to our young people is something that they really want to take part in, and as soon as you get the young people involved and wanting to be there, you tend to be able to follow that through with more adults as well. So it's about making sure your programme's really good and then following that through with people who you support really well.
Do you go hiking?
Well, do you know what? A couple of hours ago, I actually bought some new walking boots. So very occasionally I do. I don't tend to go for very long hikes, but I've got a dog, so walking is something that I do every day.
Is it safe to watch YouTube on my tablet?
Brilliant question. Well, I think it's really important that you make sure that your grown-up at home, mum or dad or whoever's at home, knows what you're watching, so don't keep anything a secret, and make sure where you're watching it is somewhere public, where they are as well. But also, did you know that there's a YouTube for Kids channel, which is absolutely brilliant? So you can get a YouTube for Kids app on your tablet, and that is perfectly safe for everybody to watch.
How long have you been in scouting for?
Okay, so I've been involved in scouting for, I think it's now officially about 23 years. So I joined as a young leader when I left Guides, and basically haven't finished. I've never left. I carried on from being a young leader. When I got to 18, I took out a leader appointment as a cub leader.
Do you guys have maple syrup in the UK?
We do, and I love maple syrup. One of the reasons being that I'm a big fan of pancakes, especially for breakfast. So I like anything like maple syrup because it's really good on pancakes. I don't think we get as much maple syrup over here as you do over in Canada, but we are able to get it.
Do you have any online friends that you've never met before?
Absolutely not. All of the people I'm in touch with on Facebook are people that are actually my friends. It's a bit different on Twitter, but I do still keep an eye on who follows me, and if I think there's anything a little bit strange or a little bit worrying, then I'm afraid I do report them, or I actually block them from seeing my page. So be really, really careful, and remember, if someone's meant to be a friend, make sure they are actually your friend and you do know who they are.
Is it raining there?
Not yet, but it might do in a few minutes. And it was raining about half an hour ago because we're in Britain and it does all kinds of strange things, and we can have 4 seasons in one day with our weather.
Do you have any tips or great ideas to share about how we recruit more leaders?
Okay, so make sure that you're really welcoming. Make sure that the adults know that what they can get out of scouting, because there's loads and loads of things that are valuable in scouting for adults as well, whether it's all the fun we have or some of the skills that you can develop that you might not get a chance to do in the workplace. So make sure you're being really honest as well about what people are getting into. Please don't use that awful line of "it's only an hour a week," because those of us who are involved in scouting know that that's an absolute lie. It's a bit longer than that, but it's a whole load of fun.
I have a question about recruiting. Do you target adults or youth? Also, I was wondering if you have waiting lists for youth in England.
So we do a bit of both. We do set out to recruit adults, but when we want to open a new group, we often start with trying to open the group first and then recruit the adults as we go along, because often the adults that we recruit are actually the parents of the young people. Sadly, we do have want to join lists in the UK. It's not something that we're proud of, because we wish we could offer scouting to every young person who wants to join, but unfortunately we don't quite have enough adult leaders. Come on, open up.
How did they color and border the scarf?
So I often ask people when I go out meeting them, where did the colours of your scarf come from? And there's all kinds of different answers that I get. So this one, it's my UK scarf. So as you probably appreciate, the colours are because these are the colours of our union flag that represents the UK. But I've come across all kinds of other things. So I heard about a group the other day saying, well, we're close to some mountains, but we've also got the sea over there. So we've got the yellow for sand, the blue for the sea, and the green for the mountains, which was great. So there's all kinds of different reasons behind why neckerchiefs or scarves are the colours that they are, and I think it's a really fascinating question because it's a question I ask as well.
This is an oak tree. What kind of trees do you have?
So we have a lot of oak trees too, and horse chestnut trees, and a lot of conifers, and other bits and pieces. It sounds like we've actually got quite a few similarities there.
What is the worst food you've ever had at a scout camp?
Oh, worst food at scout camp. I really like all the food at scout camp. That's a really hard one. I make sure that there's never any liver and never any Brussels sprouts on the menu, because often I am actually one of the cooks at scout camp. It's my favourite role because it keeps me close to the food. But I don't think there's any worst food I've ever had at camp. I really don't. I just can't think of an answer to that one.